Welcome to LBM Flash Moments with Phil Fernaro.
All right, hello everyone. This is Phil Fernaro, and this is Lightbulb Moments. It's all about the energy. And interesting enough, I just got back from Italy, my daughter's wedding. So excited! Emma got married in Tuscany in a town called Impruneta, not too far from Florence, and it was a doozy. And I got to tell you, I am so proud of how she operated and handled the stress associated with, maneuvering 50 people in a town that she never visited, and it was glorious. And I think the light bulb moments that came out of this event and the weeks to follow are important for everyone to listen to. At least if no one listens to it, I'm going to enjoy providing this information because I had a gazillion light bulb moments. So the irony of all this is that my mind wasn't working as it normally does when I was in Italy. I think the combination of jet lag, although hold on, the jet lag. Anyway, let me finish, and I'll talk about the jet lag, and then we'll get into the episode. So the combination of jet lag, thinking about the wedding, thinking about the family that was coming together, maneuvering people around, understanding the significance of this event. My mind wasn't flowing, and when I would sit down at night and try to write light bulb moments, ideas and concepts of what was happening, it just wasn't happening. My mind would sort of shut down a little bit, and which is good. Maybe that was good. The other day, Valerie said, "Yeah, maybe that was good for you. Maybe to give you more ideas." And she was right as usual. When I came back, the ideas, the concepts, the stimulation of America, I think, sort of drove me into this. And maybe that's it. Maybe we need times to relax, away from even the things that give us the greatest joy. And then when you come back, you appreciate it more. And I think that was my biggest light bulb moment, although there's a lot of them, is that I really appreciate being in the United States. That's not to say that I don't love being in Italy or traveling different places. It's just that the joy of the podcast, the joy of how the United States makes me feel, is important, and maybe being away from it even gives it more excitement when I come back. But anyway, let's talk about the wedding. Oh, first of all, uh, I was sitting with Joey, and I hate this concept because whenever I've gone in the past to Italy, we go quite often to see our family there. It was pretty interesting. I said, listen, I always have jet lag. I hate it. So Joey goes, well, I checked out ChatGPT and this is what it told me. And I go, all right, well, let's try it. So for the first time ever, I've used Joey's techniques, the ChatGPT techniques, to really sort of focus my attention to how to do it. So I slept on the plane. I planned a little bit a couple days beforehand. I changed my pattern of sleeping. And then when I got there, I immediately started drinking and hanging out and drinking wine, and I stayed up late. Everyone's told me this before, but I never followed the advice. I figured I'd give Joey's ideas, a chance here. And then the most important thing is I immediately went to the other clock, went to Italy's clock or Europe's clock, and started pretending like that was my clock. So interesting dynamic. It worked going there and coming back. It was quite a relief. I got a lot accomplished. And now the best part of it is that even though I'm still catching up on the clock, I'm getting to work early. I'm getting to do lots more things earlier in the day, although later in the day I'm crashing pretty hard after working 12 hours. But anyway, enough of that. That's exactly opposite of how I wanted to start this podcast. But here is the dynamic that created it. You'll see the flow of thought as I do this flash moment of all the things that sort of affected me in a different way than I would have ever imagined. So I guess and maybe this is the top light bulb moment for me. Poor Emma will be sad to hear this. Is that she's going to start working with us on light bulb moments with our family businesses, all the things that we do. Yeah, she's made it perfectly clear that I will not be in charge of her. That she'll have other people that she reports to. And I said that's fine. But what the best part about this is that now that she's going to be working with us, she was saying, "Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, this, that." After this planning at this wedding and what she did and what she accomplished with, my wife and the wedding planner and Don Chicho, her now son-in-law. See, I can't even say it. Very difficult. Anyway, my now son-in-law, what they accomplished, I go, Emma, there's no hiding anymore. You have all the capabilities necessary to help the family and all of our businesses, and of course, this wonderful podcast grow. This other thing that happened, another light bulb moment that sort of, and this will sort of be a sort of a strange one because just a flow of thought of about the event and what happened. So, there's not going to be any business advice here, although maybe some will pop up. It's more or less just the idea that something so this perspective shift, this life shift, this energy shift that was caused by this, these things happened as a result of feelings of joy, feelings of anticipation, and then things that just happen because you're in a foreign country, out of your element a little bit. So I'm a huge saver, right? I invest in a lot of different things. I took huge risks early on in my career to sort of help myself get to a more calm place. But even after I've sort of done fairly well, on finances and so forth, what really sort of triggered me is I still don't like to spend money. It's not that I'm cheap, but I'll invest in certain things that are make my life easier. But I'm not someone that goes out spends willy nilly. But with this event, it didn't bother me in the least. It was so important to our family, to the how this was going to be something special for us to remember, even with and without pictures, that I was okay with it. It wasn't. It was. There was no feeling of anxiety that we're spending money and absorbing it. And I know everyone's just saying, "Oh, well, that's easy for you to say," but it's not even that. It's like I don't do that. But because it brought all this great benefit to everybody that was involved, my aunt and uncle, Aunt Sandy and Uncle Tom, that came overseas, and Anne Marie's uncle and my parents, they got to experience this, and it wasn't anything like they had to watch their pennies either. It was an important step to getting to this next level of, in my mind, knowing that keeping my money forever is not necessarily that important if I can spend it on things that give me joy. So a huge light bulb moment for me, something, what am I, 56, 57 now? I always forget. The idea is that it took me this long to understand, because before I didn't like to say, I don't like to spend money on things. Maybe my Tesla. Okay, I enjoyed spending money on my Tesla, but that's another thing that when I do is like the first thing that I like to do in the morning is get up and get in my Tesla. Although, after being in Italy, I'm driving around my Vespa Electrica, bright red Vespa. People think I'm crazy with that, but I enjoy that too. So can only do that in America a short period of time. So I'm doing it whenever it doesn't rain here. So the other part of this is that this was a whole different dynamic than a regular wedding. And listen, I love weddings. I had a regular wedding, and we had a great time. But it was the different dynamic that was created by it created something that was unique. And I don't think, I mean, people have destination weddings, but I don't think it's the norm. The norm is going to a religious ceremony or a civil ceremony, and then going to a party, reception, bridesmaids, etc. Pretty interesting thought though is that this was different. It was outside the norm. It was foreign to something that I had never been to something like this before. So as a result of this, I really sort of appreciated it more, and think that it's something people should consider, and that tradition doesn't always have to be the way everybody else, that we don't have to follow tradition to the T. And it's okay if people do, but sometimes it's okay to get away from tradition. There's nothing wrong with doing something different. So, and why was it different? Because it was surrounded by 50 some people that in this great place, this great villa, where they had olive oil and wine, tastings, and then going down to the pool, having the pre-party the night before and the pool party, being able to interact, and then having that next day, which was the actual wedding, and having and seeing the most glory. I actually got to figure out a way, Val and Turnkey. Let's figure out a way, because I want to show a link to the picture of of the charcuterie board tray and how cool it was. It wasn't a tray; it was like a whole cart. It was like enormous. But when I tell you it was the best thing that I've ever eaten at a wedding or anywhere else, it was pretty powerful. And I could have just sat there and just ate all day long at it. But then we had to go to the dinner and obviously eat what was prepared. But yeah, it was just an interesting thing. You had music, people interacting in a different way. Dancing, of course, was a very big part of it. But anyway, it was just a different thing. Um, but another light bulb moment that sort of came out of this is that my daughter dated her fiance John. I call him Don Chicho, and it was like this final relief that he wasn't my future son-in-law. He was part of the family now. He was part of the family. He participated, but now he's part of it. He's one of the sections. He's one of the people that will help us grow our family in a positive way. So the idea is that finally we get over this hump, and it wasn't a short period of time. So anyway, and the other unique thing here too is America is trying to destroy destroy the rest of the world in this way. Is that McDonald's, Burger King, and they're not our sponsors, obviously. KFC. I'm in Florence checking this out. Just walking around, and I see this unbelievable situation right across from the train station. There were those three things that were there front and center at one of the most important parts, right next to the termini, the train station, at in Florence. I go, why do we feel the need to do that? I mean, obviously they want to make money, but why would Europe sort of shift the model? I think the interesting thing is in some of the bigger cities, there's more of an American view in the tourist locations, like in the Cinque Terre, Rome, Florence, things where the philosophy is more embedded into the American westernized culture because we're a huge tourist section, so they have to sort of accommodate you. But what I've seen has been lost since 2008 when I first started going there every 2 years is this whole dynamic of a shift from the Italian hospitality and focusing on what they do the best to this whole thing of how do we please the Americans. And I saw this show actually while in Italy showing that if we're going to go somewhere else, we want the differences. We want the hospitality. We want the different dynamic. We want, the wine drinking at different times of the day. We want the siestas. We want all of these things. We don't want to go back to the United States. What's the point of that? I could stay in the United States. I want to go and experience something completely different. So that was the beauty of the wedding too, is in Prunetta, which is the town in which we had this wedding. They were more inclined to speak Italian to us. They were more inclined to show the hospitality. They're a fantastic organization. We'll put the link to the hotel and the villa where it is in Impruneta. So powerful that they made us feel and enjoy that hospitality without having anything Americanized associated with this, other than the air conditioning. I'll make an exception for the air conditioning because it was pretty hot. It was the hottest June in a long time in Europe. So, but very, very nice to experience that. And what was more important is as I experienced that, and we went to other areas where they're trying to accommodate other Western civilization, not Western civilization, you know, England and Australia, United States, which and Germany, they all come in and they have their certain expectations on how they operate in the world. But guess what? It didn't. That's not what we're there for. So it was pretty enjoyable when you see the sigh of relief when they start talking English. And I said, no, let's talk Italian. Let's experience. They appreciate it. They loved it. When I'm in Rome, that doesn't happen. Florence, that doesn't happen. They don't want to talk Italian. They want to talk English. They want to get you out, move it along. And then when they come and they're serving you, do you want your coffee? This, that. I said, piano, slow down, nice and easy, calm, more calm. The idea is that they appreciate it, and then they leave you alone. And that's the experience that I enjoy when I'm in Europe. I can come here, everyone's on top of me, pay the check, this, that. How can I help you? Just stay away from me, which is, it's okay. I mean, this is the American way. That's the expectation. And I expect it too. But a lot of times I'll tell people, especially the people that I know very well, it's like, I want to enjoy this experience. This is something that I can relax to. So let's try to understand. And I think this happened a while back in one of the restaurants, European restaurants. One of my clients, although it's since closed, sad to hear about it. But the idea was is that people would go there and go, well, they're not paying attention to you, and they don't speak English. I go, yeah, that's okay. It's part of their culture, part of their experience. Just enjoy it. Tomorrow you can go to McDonald's. Tomorrow you can go get a quick burrito, whatever you want to do. But today, let's relax. Let's have live in their culture for a little while. So pretty interesting. So to sort of piggyback on that, I'm not fluent in Italian, but I'm very conversational. I've lived with the Italian culture for a long period of time, and I really sort of can understand almost everything. Barring some of the dialects. The Berets, I still can't. The people from Bari, I no idea what they're talking about, and even my language, the dialect, the Napolitan dialect out of Teano, Italy, a little difficult, but they'll shift back and forth to the pure Italian, that everybody understands. But all these years, I've sort of cultivated it, learned it, and spoke it. But I only speak it every 2 years because no one speaks it around here. Even when I go to Little Italy or something, again, it's the what I just talked about, a couple minutes ago. For some reason, this time I felt it. It was almost like, I always go back to the Matrix. You feel the Matrix. I felt the Italian culture. I felt the Italian language. And it was easy to communicate and to understand. And people recognized it. They go, oh, well, you must have some Italian heritage. And I'm not saying that that's never happened, but it happened consistently this time. So I started to reflect back. I go, why is this? And now I'm very more self-aware as to why things happen. And I started reflecting in the last 2 years here at Lightbulb Moments and the perspective shifts and all the shifts that we talked about, and that if you want to check out the shifts, just go to the website, the 5 shifts that we talk about. But I think finally, as I became more self-aware and understanding patterns and how things work, and then understanding how the other people operate and how they receive me and how I receive them, I think that was the difference. I didn't learn any more Italian. All of our relatives were studying before they went to Italy. Getting to that point, I didn't, but I understood. I felt it. I understood the patterns of how people interact, and it became joyous, and I became more myself too. I didn't try to be this American talking. I tried to be the Italian, but I was also myself. A fun story. We were having a cooking class at in Montalcino, Italy, which is also in Tuscany. But what was funny about it, and hopefully you're enjoying this because I'm enjoying talking about it, and even if only my family listens to it, it's okay. So we're sitting there and we're in this cooking class, and interestingly, we were in Tuscany in Montalcino, and the chef who spoke no English, and we were with another lovely two lovely couples that were also staying at the villa cooking, and she was from Naples, near the town where my family was from, and Italy, obviously not Florida. And I was talking to her, and she was excited that she could talk to me because I had a translator there too, because it's kind of hard to cook without understanding. So so she immediately enjoyed it, but she immediately understood that I was sort of the the sore the outlier in the group. A, I can't cook very well, and B, I'm a little rough, and C, I'm a little bit corny sometimes. So sure enough, as we go through it, we had to make the pasta, make the actual, the flour, the eggs, everything. So somehow I cracked the egg and it ended up on the counter rather than in the bowl. And she said in Italian, how does this even happen? I don't understand how it could possibly happen. So I said, I don't know. So she cleaned it up, and then she said, "Oh, let's try again." And then we went through the process. And then as we were kneading the dough, she was okay. That's pretty good. And then suddenly we were done cutting the pasta, and I was grabbing it. She goes, "Take it easy, calm down." Obviously, this is all in Italian, but she said, "Calm down a little bit. You don't have to grab the pasta so strongly, so forte." It's like, okay, okay, okay. But it was kind of fun to understand and accept it. We had a great time, and the people that were watching, that didn't speak the language, we're understanding, sort of that rapport that we created. So anyway, that was really enjoyable. But I like the fact that I was able to sort of feel that experience, which was very powerful for me, and something that sort of stood out for me in a light bulb moment for me as well. So going back to the wedding, as we walked down, and it was just like it was like the top of a hill, and I'm walking Emma back. I was very emotional about it. I thought I would be. I tried not to be, but I was, and I let it flow. And so as we walked down, I was talking to Emma in Italian a little bit. My daughter saying, say sicuro, meaning are you sure about this? And she was all nervous. So she did say, yeah, she's ready. So we walked up, and the best part is that as we walked up to give my daughter away, our family was emotional. Don Chicho's family was emotional, but I shook his hand, welcome to the family, and I handed him a light bulb moments pen, which was pretty funny that that he was able to enjoy it. He laughed, and the best part is when they signed the marriage certificate, the priest gave him a pen. He goes, no, 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 we got to sign the marriage certificate with this light bulb moment pen. So thanks a lot for that, Don Chicho. I'll never forget it. So said he kept the pen. Hopefully he kept the pen, and that was a nice part of it. Um, let's see. There's some other interesting parts of the episode. So I mean, part of the trip. When we were dropping off our car at the airport, or picking up another car at the airport in Rome, we were seeing a Australian family that was sitting next to us, or just it was just the dad. And we were getting our car. We handed our information to the guy taking the information, and we hear. So I want you to understand that this is a pretty important perspective concept here. Is that right next to us? This guy is on the phone with his wife and says, he goes, "Slight problem here," in his Australian accent. Slight problem. He says I don't have an international driver's license. So I guess the public service announcement here for the anybody traveling overseas, always get an international driver's license. It's no big deal. I go to the AAA, pay $20, they take a picture, fill out some information, they take a copy of your driver's license, and you're done. It's a matter of 15 minutes, you're out of there. So this guy, as I was eavesdropping, he had six kids. They had a nine-person van, and they were all young kids traveling, to Tuscany, and they're in Rome, so they didn't have a car because of this. So he says it's a slight problem. If this was my family, it'd be like losing our shit, so to speak. But so he's like calmly going through this. His wife did come, and she goes, "Well, isn't there anything we could do?" And they said no, and she says, "Holy fuck!" So I tried to help them. They weren't having it, but just imagine the problem. But the light bulb moments is that how would you react if you didn't have an international driver's license? You have to transport eight people plus their luggage, and not have a vehicle or a second plan of attack. So anyway, pretty funny part of it. Also, you know, during the day before the wedding, I kind of love the fact and the surprise that occurred, and you never know what's going to happen. So our Italian family, the ones that are from Teano, now Calabria, and our family from Switzerland, they were supposed to meet us the day of the wedding. Sorry, the day before the wedding. They showed up 2 days before the wedding in the same hotel we were at in Impruneta, and it was a shock. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't have. I would have had a dinner prepared. So we're at this little hotel with this little restaurant, and I said I went up to the person. I said, "Hey, listen, I've got 25 people for dinner." And because at first I said it was 16, then I said it was 19. I go, "Hey man, it's 25." He goes, "Okay, we'll take care of it." So it was the most glorious thing, this ad hoc dinner. The concept behind all this is that it was ad hoc, meaning it wasn't planned. There was nothing planned. We just had to, do what we could with what we had. And then we had the most brilliant meats and cheeses from Tuscany, and then we had the pasta. Then we had these huge Florentine, filet di manzo. He brought them out, and this wasn't planned. And he's showing everybody, and then he asked how it wants to be cooked. Then they served it. Then we had this beautiful, food, that came along with it, desserts, and then we went out, grabbed some wine, and then went to a musical festival just right in the piazza next to us. Then went up on the rooftop, finished the night, and caught up with our Italian relatives. Like I said, we only see them every 2 years. Maybe we'll have a call or a Zoom or a face WhatsApp every once in a while. But it was just sort of like making something special. And I remember that, that was, almost as important as the wedding. And then everybody got to interact and have a wonderful time. Um, and I think that's important. You have to make these quick decisions sometimes, and you got to make the best of it. The same thing happened in Rome. We were going to go to a different restaurant. I had my whole family, my extended family. I go, it's raining. Let's go here. So sometimes, and it ended up being a great dinner, good laughs, good. We talked about family things. So it's a very nice idea. Is that don't get stressed when things happen to Bright Community. Maybe make the best of it. Give it a try. You never know. It might be a disaster. When I'm in Italy, I call it a un disastro. But the idea is that if it's a disaster, okay, things happen and you don't have to blame yourself for it. It was unexpected. But sometimes the best things in life come out of the unexpected. After all that planning for Emma, she had a great wedding. However, this other thing had no planning and it was cool. I mean, it wasn't as good as what she put together, but it was unbelievably important. So remember that, next time you're in an anxious situation or don't know what to do or have nothing else in mind, just try something. You never know what good thing could happen as a result of it. So as chance would have it, and I'm almost done here. I just hopefully you're enjoying the concept and can feel my joy about my trip. Uh, but we're almost there. Work came back into the play. I tried to keep away from it, stay away from it. However, you never know. There's always something that comes on. I always joke. Jeff Gustafson. My first really big deal was with Jeff Gustafson. His episode, I don't know the number, but we'll put it in the show notes. But Jeff Gustafson, I conducted the biggest deal at the time that I had in Central Park with my little BlackBerry. That was a long, long time ago. But here I'm sitting there. I've got spotty internet. I'm interacting, with a client, and I had to draft something significant. And if I didn't have chat, it would have taken me 6 hours, but because I had chat, it only took, 2 or 3 hours. And the result was this beautiful document, not because chat did it, but because I had the ability to interact and I had learned how to work with chat, so that instead of me, when I drafted the initial document and popped it in and then backed and forth it, the result was a glorious document that the client appreciated and was necessary for them to be stable. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work, but there was no one available. It was a weird time of the day and we got it done. So always bring your tools with you wherever you go. It doesn't matter what the tool is. Chat is pretty powerful. It saved the day, for me more than once. And and to Siriana, who I want you to start listening to the podcast. And it was cool. I brought this will be the best part, but one of my cousins in Italy, I came in with a bag of light bulb moment shirts over my shoulder in a plastic bag, and I'll explain how I got the plastic bag in a second. And she called me the scary Santa Claus. So I think we're going to put the scary Santa Claus in the show notes, Val. It's not very complimentary to how I looked because I was probably really tired from the jet the overseas trip. But I have a bag over my shoulder, and the first thing she thought about is scary Santa Claus. So thanks for that, Siriana. Um, and so that was this is how it all started. I'm trying to get, I know I'm out of sorts here, but back to the beginning of the trip, because I guess the scary Santa Claus. So I had this plastic bag. Where did I get the plastic bag? So I'm traveling with my two parents and my two aunts and uncles and Anne Marie and I. And so I put my suitcase on, and this never happens to me on the way. They go, well, it's overweight. I said, okay, all right, well, I'll shift it to the other bag, which I was always also checking. And then as I was trying to close that bag, it exploded and the zipper broke. So I go, and everyone's looking. They don't know what they're doing. They're already stressed because they got to go to an overseas flight. I go, don't worry, don't worry. And I'm talking to the lady, I go, give me some tape or something, and she goes, nah, we don't have any tape. I go, what about that plastic bag there? And she goes, well, this one? I go, yeah, let me have that one. So I tied it, I put my suitcase in the bag, tied it, and said, how about this? She says, okay, we'll do it. And then as I'm flying, I checked the baggage check, and it only said it was transporting one bag. So I go, oh, that's great. I just lost the majority of my luggage. But fortunately, when we got there, I was never happy to see, so happy to see a plastic bag, and that was the plastic bag. So then I used it the rest of the trip, and of course, we picked up, another bag in Rome so that we could bring my other stuff back. But I gave all my light bulb moment shirts away, so that made the bags less, and I gave a couple mugs to my cousin Emma and Maria. But anyway, hello, Olderico, Siriana, and Americo, and and the rest out there. Hope you enjoyed the trip with us. Um, Hopefully, I didn't forget anybody. Did I? Anyway, I may come back in next. I think I forgot somebody. Um, anyway, so that sort of defines the trip. So all these special things happened. Everything interacted. Oh, sorry, Tony Lamonia. That was another episode part of it. So we went to a town called Porto Venere, and it's Liguria. And if you've ever had Tuscan bread, this is Liguria. It's not Toscana. It's a different location, just outside of Tuscany, and the bread there is extraordinary. I've never eaten bread that is that extraordinary. I'm going to actually take a note, light bulb moment. I'm going to go and try to find a Ligurian restaurant in Chicago and New York so I can go there and have their bread and their food. It's delicious. And I finally got my coniglio, which is rabbit. I tried it 3 or 4 different places and they couldn't get it. So I was at the restaurant, the Grand Hotel in Porto Venere. If you can ever go there, it's glorious. And my friend Tony Lamonia got married there, and years ago, a few years ago, and he asked. I texted him. I go, I'm here. Where is your family from? And he goes, make sure you say hi to Giovanni at the bar at the Grand Hotel. And he was there. And we took a nice picture with him. Actually, we got to start doing more pictures. Maybe we'll send a picture of Giovanni. But to the Grand Hotel people in Liguria and Liguria. And what's interesting is that a slight boat ride away, that Porto Venere kept that hospitality, that Italian relationship. But as soon as you took a boat ride 15 minutes away to the Cinque Terre, it was different. It was very touristy, etc. I think it's because Porto Venere didn't have a train station. I think that's a very important part. It's sort of separated from the rest. It goes from La Spezia to, whatever, I can't, Roca something, the first island or part of port in the Cinque Terre. But anyway, it was cool to sort of connect and understand. And I went into the church where Tony was married. So it was all this unbelievable connection as we go along. So finally, let's wrap this up before we introduce our guest for tomorrow. It's the actual relief of getting back to the United States was pretty powerful. I was ready. A lot of people, say, oh, I got my bucket list. I want to travel here, there, this, that. I want to go to Asia, Africa, wherever you want to go. I'm not that guy. I don't feel that urgency or necessity. I felt that I'd like to go from what I said before because of the differences. However, I'd like to come back. It makes me feel better. And the fact that my mind shut down a little bit is odd because it was actually a little bit frustrating for me because I had some downtime where I was trying to come up with light bulb moments and things that I wanted to talk about. I go, maybe I ran out of light bulb moments. Maybe flash moments. Maybe I said, let's go to all guests again. But then it sort of flowed back. And I'm here on a Saturday doing a couple podcasts, doing some, I had got some cool 2 podcasts this week. Really, really fun to get those back into it. But my energy, my mind is working at a powerful level again. The realization, the light bulb moment is that 2 weeks without doing what I'm doing here today and doing, for the Bright community and with the Bright community. I think it's really, really, really important to know that it really made me understand what was important to me now, where I'm in my zone of genius and where I'm the most happy. So pretty fun. This was a sort of a strange format today, but hopefully some of these things will click with you in terms of the light bulb moments that we discussed. And, hopefully you enjoyed hearing me and the joy that the trip caused me and my family. So anyway, so tomorrow is Patrick Kennedy. He works with Ernst Clift Strategic, which is sort of connected with Alpine. And if you remember Rod Shaw, episode 203, who I met through Consortium, we talk about Consortium a lot. But Rod Shaw introduced me to Patrick through their Canadian branch. And Rod Shaw and Alpine, their international connections, and I heard someone from Ernst speak at in New York for one of our events, or DC, I can't remember, but he's going to give us a different perspective tomorrow. That is the perspective from Canada. And now that our podcast is approaching more international people, we have got a big uh, push from all different continents of people listening to the podcast. It's nice to hear what their perspective is about how we perceive things and really sort of highlighting the differences. So I think you'll enjoy that. We'll also talk about the importance of predictability and alignment in our lives. Actually, taking stressful situations, like the one we had trying to find a restaurant for 25, is to activate because of the stress. And that's sometimes very, very important. Sometimes we just end up shutting down because of the stress rather than activating. And I think that the most important thing that we'll talk about tomorrow is just how to interact, how to align, and how to correlate our differences, and how to grow businesses, being proactive rather than reactive. We'll see everyone tomorrow for another positive day of illuminating thoughts and light bulb moments. Stay bright, everyone.